As the Dust Bowl raged on, California was the place to go.
My cousin got out of the Navy and he bought a big old Pontiac, a red one. And he stopped there where we were staying at and said, "I'm going to California. Anybody want to go with me?" And 11 of us got in that car and went with him to California.
And so began one of America's great migrations.
We came out, no motels, no restaurants, we'd sleep on the side of the road.
They call them Okies.
And some of them, it took years to get out here.
Everything we owned was in that truck.
My place to ride, it was up there in the back window. I rode all the way from Cherry Valley, Arkansas till we got to California in that back window.
They came looking for jobs. Tens of thousands fled their farms, ravaged by drought and winds that whipped away the topsoil all over the south-central U.S. From Oklahoma, from Arkansas, Kansas, and Texas. The roads grew clogged with these old rusting trucks and cars chugging along slowly, loaded down with whole families and whatever else they could tie on. This convoy of despair raced to California's Central Valley, looking for any work on the farms and ranches.
We got to California, it was wonderful. Never been any place like it. I thought I was in heaven. You'd see those checkerboards of orchards and fields and stuff, and well, you just never seen anything like that.
The refugees poured into places like the Sunset Labor Camp outside Bakersfield. It was from here, in Weed Patch, the world learned the plight of the children of the Dust Bowl. Among these buildings, the great writer John Steinbeck came to learn firsthand the narrative of an American tragedy. The Grapes of Wrath told the story of the Joad family fleeing Oklahoma and ending up in this very camp. A few original buildings have been saved. The community hall, the library, the post office, and most important, one of the tiny cabins that once housed whole families.
Family living in a room about 8 by 10. I never lived in a real house till I was around 12 years old. I thought it was fascinating when we finally landed in a house and it had a bathroom in it.
It was a roof over your head.
Tom Glasgow brought his family all the way from Oklahoma to visit the camp where he grew up.
Come out to see this. I want to show my wife how poor people really lived.
Tom, his sister, and 5 others lived in a tin cabin just like this one.
You raise these windows up, and what breeze you get is your air conditioning. That's it. There was no fans. There was only one plug-in in the whole thing, and you was allowed a 25-watt bulb.
Once a year, the survivors of the Dust Bowl bring their children and grandchildren and give them a lesson about the old days.
Time's getting away. I'm getting too old, and it's time I started coming home.
Eddie Williams drove from Chelsea, Oklahoma.
Don't want folks thinking that I'd steal.
Eddie and hundreds of others
Then I thanked him as I was leaving,
remember the music
and I headed out for Bakersfield.
remember the food,
I like gravy. I'll pay extra.
Oh my God.
and they all remember the friendships.
Trying to keep the Dust Bowl alive out there.
That was a later version of doing it this way.
Plunger right here.
Everywhere, you see what life was like in the camps. But nothing seemed to attract a crowd like this old heap. Trucks like these became the icon of the Dust Bowl migration. It was in these so-called jalopy caravans that a hungry, desperate people rolled west. Jack Locks is trying to save a piece of that rolling history. Former auto mechanic and teacher scours junkyards for this stuff.
These are Stanley engines.
His shop is clogged with strange pieces of the 1920s and 30s. This is pure Americana. His mission? To get these old engines chugging along again. And take all of us for a ride back to the 1930s. He and his cousin Mike Harris hunt down all sorts of aging tools, pots and pans, used tires, musty mattresses, and tie them on to these old rusting trucks, because this is how it was. The victims of the Dust Bowl grabbed what they could and just hit the road.
Yeah, the reason it was hanging on the outside because they had a lot of kids and they had to put them inside, so they hung everything outside. If you was real poor, you just have one mattress, but if you were, a little bit richer, you'd have two mattresses on top.
Everything on these trucks was for survival. The tools and the tires were there to keep the truck going. A breakdown could spell disaster.
Had a lot of problems with the tires, had to carry extra tires with them.
Jack and Mike can get these running, barely. They truck them to schools and businesses and the annual Dust Bowl Festival in Weed Patch, letting people touch history.
One guy said it brings back memories when he sees that truck. He's 90 some odd years old, but he says it brought back some pleasant memories, some not so pleasant.
At the festival, folks crowd around this old gem, one of 4 trucks Jack has restored. They have attached a classic old gas-powered washing machine, a real eye-catcher. It ran on gas because in the 30s, few people had electricity on farms. One of the first things you realize, these old vehicles made their own special noises as they cough back to life. They are the sounds of our past.
Seen a couple of guys kind of get misty-eyed.
As bad as things were, there was hope. There was always hope.
And so, these reborn trucks roll on, a moving piece of American history.
Absolutely vital to remember this.
Remembering the days the dust blew, and dreams were hatched of a new life at the end of the road.
Proud to be an Okie from Muskogee, a place where even squares can have a ball. Yes, we still wave old glory down at the courthouse. White lightning still the biggest